Hello and welcome, Elizabeth Pampalone. Am I pronouncing
Hey,
it correctly?
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
That's so. Elizabeth is an international speaker, successful entrepreneur, and expert marketer with over 20 years of experience. Her innovative approach help overwhelm business owners and burn out nonprofit directors to achieve success and freedom through the power of absolute marketing. Hi and welcome, Elizabeth. And
Hey.
I'm so excited to have you here with us. Marketing. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you started this journey with the marketing?
Well, I actually started my business 13 years ago, so a while back, and I was doing my own marketing, and I realized that I didn't have time to do all of it and be in two places at once, basically. So I created some formulas for myself, and once I created those formulas, I started realizing that other people were asking me, well, how do you do it? How are you doing these things? And I was like, well, it's easy, and I started sharing that information. I basically realized that I had a whole nother company there with just that. And I started my agency, and that's what I do today. So today I help small businesses and nonprofits to build the year of marketing in 5 days.
Yes, amazing. So tell us a little bit more. I would love to hear your story. Like, where are you from? Like, how did you came to the work that you do? And then we'll talk about marketing. All right.
Yeah. So I actually started when I was a kid. My mom owned several businesses, and I would help her sell things. She sold scrapbooking supplies at one point. She did basket weaving for a long time, and she wrote a book about that. So I would help her sell things. She had a couple home-based businesses when I was growing up. And I just really fell in love with the way that people buy and like why they make decisions they do. And then I went to college for programming. I became a website programmer. And then I went into software developing, which I hated. And from there, I actually ended up going through a divorce at the age of 21. I lost everything, kind of had to start over from zero. And when I did that, I was able to start my own business from that point. And that's what happened about 13, 14 years ago.
Wow, that is so cool. So why? Okay, I wanted to ask you how do you do this? You said you do this in 5 days. So who do you work with and what is it marketing to you?
So I work with mostly women entrepreneurs, and I find that I kind of filled my own need, and I'm in my own demographic. So, and with marketing, I really feel like it's something that you need to do, but it shouldn't take up all your time. It shouldn't be all consuming because there's so many other things as a business owner that we need to do. And especially if you're starting out, it can be so overwhelming. And you might think, oh, well, I've got time. I need to learn all this stuff. But there are easier ways. There are people who have basically reinvented the wheel. Like we don't still use horses for travel anymore. We use cars and planes and things like that. So I feel like as long as you can take advantage of what other people have done and made simple, then it's really, really helpful. And I do that with people that I follow as well. So I'm always learning new tricks and stuff as well.
So tell us a little bit more. What is your favorite platforms? What do you think about all the platforms that we are on, and what is your approach to being on those platforms?
So I actually do an entire day on social media, and I actually believe you should be on to 2 to 3 that are the right ones for you. And that means where your demographic is. A lot of people don't pay attention to that, and they don't look at where their demographic is. So they end up kind of getting lost in Instagram or getting lost on Pinterest. And really, they shouldn't even be on those platforms to begin with because their people aren't even there. So I really believe in focusing on the 2 to 3 that are really going to make the most sense for you and give you the biggest return.
hmm So what's the difference between all those platforms? Let's break them
Really, the
down.
audience, the audience. So it doesn't matter which platform it is. It could be Instagram, could be Snapchat, could be TikTok. It doesn't matter. But who is the audience they're mainly serving? Like if you're not aware, Instagram serves women under 35 as a majority user. It's about 75% of their users. So that may not be your audience, women under 35, but it might be. And if it is, then you definitely need to be on Instagram. But if it's not, you probably shouldn't even bother with Instagram at this point because your audience isn't even there.
Yes, and on the Facebook, I will speak a little bit more on that. It's Instagram is for, entertainment, and there's a lot of people who are they want to see entertainment. So if you are like, let's say in entertainment industry and your people are most visual and you want to show the examples and that's what you do, you, for example, you branding coach or something, Pinterest, Instagram will be the platforms, right?
Well, and then Instagram, again, it's the demographic. It's
It,
serving a
yeah.
certain type of person. So in
Millennials, Gen Zs, it's a younger demographic. And
right, right. And it's also, people don't follow people on there. So they follow brands
yeah.
and they follow large brands. So it's not necessarily so much entertainment, but it kind of ends up being that. But it does have to do with lifestyle branding. So like Kim Kardashian is not a person anymore. She's a brand. Like, she's become a brand. She is a brand. And even though she's in the entertainment industry, she has a lifestyle. So she shows what bag she has. She shows what she's eating today. She shows what program she's using. Like, she's going to share that information because she's a lifestyle brand. And people want to live that lifestyle or have that lifestyle. So then they kind of follow her for that reason. So if you are in the fashion world, if you're in that, even the photography, the boudoir, the like, what that kind of like you said, kind of entertainment, but really on that lifestyle fashion type end of things, that's where you see a ton of engagement. That's where you see a ton of people utilizing it and really flourishing with it. But if you're not in that space, it's going to be much harder. And there is a right one or two or three that are out there for you. And so really you need to focus on those. And the return is also different. So Pinterest, well, Facebook is like a 30-minute lifespan, but Pinterest is like a 3-month lifespan of a post. And so a lot of people don't know that. I actually wrote a book, an ebook about that, and I have that in my free community. But like I really get into that part of it. And a lot of people say, well, what's the best one? Or which one should we use? No, like, and you have to pick the right ones, but then you have to know what you're talking about when you put stuff on there. You're not just putting stuff up and hoping it works, because then that goes back to your brand. So yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces, but there's not really a right one that I would say is like for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I wanted to break that down because a lot of us right here, they're learning of how to build the business. So I think it's very important to understand your audience. Like Facebook, it's all about community. It's all about the tribe and, moms, they're all like mostly in there. LinkedIn, it's all about work. Like it's fast and easy. Like, what do you have? I need it. Oh, I don't need it. Like, sell me or don't sell me. It's all about the fasting. And of course, the demographic, it's so important. What do you think is the best way to put yourself out there, right? How do you navigate through social medias? And do you do writing? Is it the longer post? Or is it shorter now? Is it a video? Or is just you figuring out for yourself, right?
Yeah. So, this goes back to your brand, and it goes back to who you're speaking to, why you're speaking to them, and who they actually are, and what their lifestyle is like. I've had people ask me too, like, when do I post? Not just what do I post, but when do I post? And it goes back to all the lifestyle of the people you're trying to attract and trying to work for. You don't want to be putting things out at 9 a.m. in the morning when that's when they're getting their kids off to school. That's when they're trying to get the house cleaned up before, they get their day started, whatever. They might actually be more into your post at 11 o'clock at night. That might be actually when they're on their phone, they're scrolling, and that might be the best point for them. That might not be the best point for someone who is working in an office and they have to get up at 6 a.m. and they're in bed by 11. Like, they're not even, looking at their phone. So there's different lifestyles. And so that comes down to also, what are you posting? Are you writing stuff? Are you, I don't believe in those long posts. They drive me nuts. Like those really long, like, here's a post and it has 20 million, like you have to see
It's
more.
like,
Like,
if I want to read the book, I'll grab a book. But
right,
like, if I'm on
right.
social media, I can't read it. Even emails, when they're way too long. I know some people do, but I don't feel like this is what's going on in social media. It might be going on maybe in email, okay, but like book, yes. But not on
Right.
Instagram.
And like blog, like on a blog, like if you're going to write that much, it should be in a blog post, because then you can utilize that content way more than if it was just in Instagram or just on Facebook. So, you don't want to just pigeonhole your content and say, okay, I spent like 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour on this post. And then Facebook only lets it live for 30 minutes. That's not helpful. So you definitely want to make sure that you're also looking at what your audience is doing, what they need, answering their questions, and not being afraid to reuse content.
Oh yes, repurposing. I'm a big fan of repurposing, and we are going to repurpose this interview as well, and others, and to the blog post, maybe some, the tips and stuff. So let's come from that angle. I wanted to give some really practical advice for all of who is with us today. How do they search for that content, right? A lot of people come to me, and I do marketing too, and they're like, oh, I just don't have that many ideas. Like, I need to come up with everything new. Like, you are the queen in it. So how do you do this? Where do you search for those content ideas?
Yeah, I look back at what they've already done. And a lot of people, even if they're just starting, they've already done something, right? They've already realized that they need to be in this profession, in this situation, but that means they've actually done something before that, right? They've worked with someone, family members, whatever that is. And so they have stories, they have insight, they have had people ask them questions about what they do. And this is going to help them to get that content. So maybe they tried to sell somebody something at one point, and that person was like, no. And maybe they were like asking a million questions and they were still no. But that's good, because that experience is going to help you say, okay, what objections did they have? What questions were they worried about? Was it my price? Now I need to explain to people on my website, people in my social media, as part of my brand message, why my price is the way that it is. What am I bringing? What's the value? And so if that's a question, if that's an objection, you can answer that in social media 10 times in a year, because you are not going to have the same people in the beginning of the year that you have in June or July or October. So repeating yourself in that way and saying it again and repeating it in maybe a different wording or whatever you want, you can sometimes repeat it verbatim, same way. And it's going to help to repeat that. And so people know that no matter what stage they come in. And a lot of times that message is the same. You don't have to change that messaging as you go. Like, I know, you want to change that message as it happens, but sometimes there's those messages that are the same. They're the same, that you're going to say the same thing every time. And it's because they are those solid, evergreen, foundational pieces that it doesn't matter what year it is, what's going on. Branding is still branding. Social media is pretty much still social media. Email is still email. And there's tried and true things that work. And there's tried and true things about your business, about every business, that are always going to be there. And that's what you really want to bring forward to create a lot of content quickly. And it's all up here. You just have to learn to access it and ask yourself the right questions, or work with somebody that can ask you those right questions.
Absolutely. All right. So what is your best tips right now during the COVID? What do you see working in our marketing? And then most of us here, I know it's most of the coaches, consultants, right? Energy experts, healers, and all the expert service-based industry. So what works right now? What do you see on the market?
Definitely consistency. That's the main piece. And the problem with that is that a lot of people will get on a roll. January 1 comes around, it's New Year's resolution, and they'll be good to go. Or they'll come to an event like this and they'll hear me speak, and they'll hear you and all the other guests, and they'll be like, yeah, I'm on it. We're doing this. And then 3 months go by, even 3 weeks go by, and it's like, okay, it's Christmas, I'm busy, forget it, And so consistency is important. And if you can get a lot of content done ahead of time and do it in one block, a whole 3 months, a whole year, whatever you want to try, then you can actually move forward and then, go out and do all the other things you have to do and talk to all the other people you have to talk to. But the actual content itself right now is about sharing who you are, what you do, and who you're serving. Because sometimes people might not even know what you do. I actually have known this guy for 10 years almost, and I've seen him at networking, and I've seen him all over the place. We've been colleagues, right, for a long time. And the other day he sends me an email and he says, hey, I just want to see how you were doing. I said, I'm doing great. He said, I just launched my new website. I was like, great. So I went to look at it. He does home remodeling. I had no idea. I had no idea what this man did for 10 years almost. And I'm sitting here going, this is the power of being clear and telling people what you do, even though you might assume that they know. Because he would show up to networking meetings sometimes in a suit and sometimes in construction clothes, like he'd been on a job site. And I was just like, and this man is amazing. He's an adorable man, but he never was able to articulate that message. And I saw him so many times at so many meetings. And so it's kind of like with social media, even though people might see your posts all the time, they might not actually know what you do, because they might not have read that one post you posted in January. They might have joined yesterday. So being repeatable and telling people again what you do. And even if you think, oh, it's too much, my people are going to get annoyed with me that I keep telling them what I do and they already know. No, they're going to forget, let me tell you. Especially if you have a lot of services, or if you have a lot of things that you're doing, especially if you add new things along the way and you posted about it one time in July, but you haven't reposted about it recently. Those kind of things are really helpful. So go back and look at what is your base, what is your core, and start reposting those pieces. And that's really going to help with the consistency. And it's also going to help you with that message and making sure your message is the same and solid.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing you saying, it's right. It's really make that point in your post who you are, and don't be afraid to be repeatable. Repeat yourself, repurpose stuff, because I feel repurposing is the most powerful thing. And I can tell you, I've been sneaking through other people, big brands names like profile until like years back, just out of curiosity, and I see the same pictures posting on Instagram and like the same content, just a little bit change, different headline, different call to action. And we can talk about this too. It's like, it's so amazing once you really learn that and start to practicing, you start to see on other people profiles exactly that what they're doing. They don't spend their time on creating content every day. A lot of people, told me that I'm like, every day I'm spending 2 hours of creating content. And recently I talked with the client. I was like, whoa, you girl, you gotta get my course, because this is way too much. You gotta learn how to repurpose. Awesome. So I wanted to also talk like what is it too annoying with the offers, and what is it, that balance of what's the balance of a content that we want to put out there?
So the balance is, people are always like, oh, 20% sales, 80% education. That's kind of like been the tried and true. That's what everybody says. I actually don't believe that. I feel like what ends up happening is people take it too far and they go way off the deep end. And what they do is they don't sell at all because they're afraid. They don't want to oversell, and they don't even want to do the 20%. So I feel like the balance really comes to, how can I sell you without selling you? And this comes through telling stories. This comes through getting, information to people that's maybe not from you, maybe from other people, like posting from other websites and things like that. But you're also basically saying, hey, I'm an expert, but I'm also going to bring you other experts like you're doing with this. And that's really powerful. And that's a great balance as well, because it's not just the Elizabeth show all the time. It's like, Elizabeth, oh, she knows Victoria and she's amazing and you should talk to her too. And so that's kind of a great piece of balance as well. But I feel like as long as we make sure we're intentional with the sales, you really want to push that forward. You don't want to say, oh, I don't want to sell because I'm afraid. I don't want to overwhelm people with sales. You want to learn to sell without selling, and share stories that sell for you, and share, like, we have an email that goes out, and it's every time we have like a new website that goes up, we do a video, a testimonial, and then that onto our website as a blog post, and then that goes out as a post and in our email. And so it's a piece of content that's been reshareable, repurposed, but it's got the video in it. And so that goes on the social media, and it really shares the story from that person's perspective. I don't have to do anything. I'm not selling you. That person is telling you how great their time was and how great their service was and what they loved about it. So those kind of things are great as well. And you might not have all this content right away, but you can start to plan to get this content. And I try to put it in like my calendar, not as like a thing to do, but like as part of my process. So when I finish a website with someone, when I finish a 5-day session with someone, I record a video with them, whether we're doing virtual or in person. I'm like, we have to stop. This is part of the end of the day. We're paying the final invoice. That's one thing. And then we're doing a video, and it's 2 minutes, done. And they don't have to do anything. And I ask them a couple questions and they just answer those questions. But that's me creating that content for later. I'm not going to use it right that second, but I know that it's part of my process now. And I don't have to worry about, oh, I should have got that video. Oh, I should call them and ask them for a testimonial. It's already done because I already had it as part of that process. So if you don't have any of that content yet, don't worry about that. Just start putting it as part of your process so that it's another piece of that checklist when you're performing a service or when you're working with someone, so that it becomes just something you do. It's not like, oh, I've got to do this extra thing now.
I'm like, yes, 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 because I've been kicking my friends, asked my two friends that I'm helping with the business, but she's my housemate. And she's just starting hypnotherapy business. And I'm like, you guys are crazy that you are not asking for testimonials. They're working like with the pro bonus. And that's what they're required from the institute they're in. And they actually provide them clients. And I'm like, you guys need to ask testimonial right away, like the next session you're meeting them, because they're helping people like with smoking, lose weight, and like super easy, all the stuff, and it's all like you can see the results. And I'm like, you have to ask, like you must ask for testimonial the next session you see the person, if you're working one-on-one and you're a coach. And right, or the like you do 5-day boot camp at the last, like day before or the last day, when the people are up, they are learning,
Yes,
the energy
that's
is
right.
up. You
Yep.
gotta capture this, because it's a disservice not to those people who will want to work with you. And that one
Yep.
testimonial that you don't have, they will make a decision or no, and they will be stuck in for another year or whatever. Like
Yep.
it's so powerful, like such a the words of wisdom. I just love, love testimonials. Is absolutely just grab it. Also, if you feel shy, okay. Some people feel shy and they're like, I don't know, like how to ask about it, right? It's a self-worth issue. It's, you can just ask them question. And then, was that helpful for you? How was that helpful? And if you don't want to record video, take those notes and then restructure them, and then come back to that person and say, look, it's that's what you said. Can I use this for, that's what you just said on the, like on the session before. Can I use this for testimonial or feedback on my website or Instagram? Can I put this out? And people will say yes, because it was their words. If you just come up with something, they will say, I didn't say that, right? But when they say that, they will, of course, they will say yes,
And
right?
I also go back, so I didn't have a couple testimonials for some people, because sometimes, like the end of the day, we're like rushing out the door. It's like, okay, we gotta go. There was no time for a video, and it's hard to get people to do it after the fact. It really is. So as long as you can do it like as soon as it's happening, like you said, when they're like amped up and they're like, yes, this is amazing, then that's the best time. But the couple people I didn't have those videos for, and so I wanted to put something on the website, and I was doing pull quotes for my videos. And so I just needed a little, like just one line for this one person. And I just went back to our emails and I just looked at what she'd said in emails. And people always, they try to be cordial, right, in an email. So they'll say something like, thank you so much for working on the website with me. It was such a great day. They'll say something like that. I'm so relieved it's done. Now I have one question, right? So that's kind of like a it's kind of like like a courteous thing to do, generous thing to do, whatever. When you're writing an email, you start that way, right? So I'm sure a lot of people have gotten emails like that, and they have that in their email, and they don't have to even ask to like hunt down the person and be like, okay, can I get a testimonial? They've already given you a testimonial. They said, hey, it was a great day. Hey, I really had fun. Hey, I got great results from that. And then there's a but, right? Or there's like and I need something. But you don't have to put that part in the testimonial, right? You just answer their question, you move on. But you can go back to those emails and see where someone kind of gave you that praise. And actually, when I do, I have a maintenance program for my sites. And if they need something, they fill in a form and then we do the work for them. And at the bottom of that form, it says, what do we do amazing? And what do we need to improve? And every time I get a ticket, they don't have to fill it in, but a lot of people just do. They're filling in the form, they fill in the bottom. And I get such great compliments from that, where people are like, oh, you're amazing. You're so fast. You're so reliable. Whatever those quick little notes are. And then I get feedback on, hey, I had a problem with this. You might want to check this, tweak that process, whatever. So I get this feedback, and it's almost kind of anonymous because they're just putting it at the end of the form. But it does give me that sense of what we need to work on and if there's an issue. And also I have all these great little snippets that I can put on that web page for the monthly maintenance to show, yeah, people love this and this is what they're saying about it.
We are getting close to the end, and I would love to hear, what are you sharing with us today? I know it's a membership, right?
Yes, so
Good.
I have a community. It is a link that you have, so you can share that. And it is a free community right now. So it's a great opportunity to join, see if you like it. I'm doing trainings in there all the time. There's events, there's networking. So it's really a lot of fun. And there's also, like I said, free courses and free ebooks in there as well.
Yes, Ellen, thank you. That is so generous of you. I love that idea of having community and market, because marketing, it's ongoing process, you guys. Yet you done the one course and you're like, okay, I know how to do it. It's always just in the process. Progress always in the process here. I love and I resonate with you with what you share. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. You are just a so shiny, bright light. I love it. Your energy, it's amazing. You're like so fast, like I am too. And it's so amazing to have those fast people in here in
Well,
the
thank you
sun.
so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Bye.
And if you love this episode and you would love to see more of that, click the subscribe button to Purposeful Woman Podcast. And don't forget to text us to stay in tune with the Purposeful community for awesome tricks by texting to number +1 401 399 4105. And we will link descriptions in the episode to all of that we mentioned today. Bye. Turn your one day to day one with a purposeful day.